Hi, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're tuning in from YouTube, just a quick reminder before we start, quickly click like or subscribe there. If you're coming to us from the link or from our main web page, welcome back again. Again, just a quick reminder, there's a few schedules there, look into it, and just bookmark a few that you are interested in. Again, just to start off the session, today we're going to talk about, in essence, the earth, the environment, social impacts, and a few projects. So we're going to cover impact investing or impact investment, matter of how you want to look at it. And I have today with me, again, a great panel. First of all, my name is Terence, and I'm from LATOKEN, and you have landed on VCTV. Now, VCTV is a channel where we feature some prominent businesses and also a great bunch of investors. So you get to hear from both ends of the spectrum and you get to participate as well. So do click the links, join us, get in touch. No matter what, just send your message across and we'll get that heard. So just again, moving on to the panel, I would like to get Florian. Do come on in and introduce yourself.
Hi, Terence. Thank you for the introduction. So I'm Florian, or Flo, my short name. I'm an investor and entrepreneur. I've been running companies in the tech space for many years. And then after selling my last company, I became an investor in renewable energy. And recently I launched my latest project, Neco, a currency for the common good, which does exactly that, investing into social and environmental causes. I myself have been an environmental activist for decades. You know, I started very young. When I was 10, I was collecting garbage from our forest because I didn't like the way it was, put out there. And, I've dedicated my life now to serving the common good, serving social and environmental causes. And thank you for the invite today and for the chance for me later to give a short presentation about my project.
Great, and good to have you on board as well. Over to you, Muluko. Do quickly introduce yourself here.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Terence. My name is Muluku. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of Mansa Capital. We're a investment consultancy firm and a micro VC that invests selectively in African companies and companies in developed regions. And we help them connect to global venture capital firms and strike global partnerships with Fortune 500 companies. I'm super excited and honored to be here today and discuss more about impact investing.
Great. Again, welcome on board and thank you for making time. Let's get into the conversation right away. Now, as we look at impact investing or impact investments itself, I like to kind of start off with the definition to kind of get into the whole ecosystem itself. From what I read, at least, it's about companies, organization, and the funds that get into it. The whole intention is actually to kind of look and focus into social and environmental impact. I mean, that's the textbook definition of it. But of course, we want to hear what you have to think about it and put a parameter to that. So let's start with Florian on this one. Could you tell me how you look at impact investment or impact investing itself?
Yeah, I think the definition hits it quite well. It's investing into social and environmental causes. And that's been, for me, that was when I started my investment company, that was always my core goal. I said, where do you want to focus on? Like investing in everything is not a good idea because you really want to know what you're doing with. And for myself, I had this value of I wanted to make sure that my money does something valuable. So I would only invest in things where I think that it does more than just generating profit for myself. Obviously, you also want to make money, otherwise it wouldn't make much sense. So it's this balance of contributing to something bigger, but also taking profit out of it. So I think that's the key of impact investment, to find the right balance between investing into a cause, but also having the economic advantages from an investment.
Right. I think that's a good way to kind of start it off as well. Muluku, I think different continents, different people, different organizations will have a different set of definition, perhaps. Uh, are there others, or how wide can we go with this definition?
Yes, so I completely agree with what you said, and I would like to build on what Florian said as well. Like impact investment is the balance between social and environmental impact, and like also the balance of like finding profit as well. Because at the end of the day, we all have LPs for which we need to seek profit, right? But defining impact investment, especially from a developing market perspective, is anything that can help improve the lives of people on the bottom of the pyramid, right? So for example, right, like for example right now, if you look at the African continent, right, there's an estimated 450 million people that are unbanked or that are underbanked, right? Now, with the invention of fintech and with large mobile phone penetration, these people have now been included in the financial sector, and these people now have access to financial services as well, right? And then looking at the energy sector, for example, it is estimated that 600 million people on the African continent do not have access um, to electricity or clean water, right? But with investments in renewable energy, especially solar energy, even people in the most rural parts or the most remote parts of the African continent now have access to electricity. And I believe that there's no growth without having proper electricity.
Right. I think we want to continue on that point as well, and perhaps we can touch a little bit on the characteristics of impact investing and why impact investing now. Florian, perhaps you can take this one.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point here. Why now? I think now is
Yeah.
the best time, because what we're seeing today is like we're seeing a major shift, a new era coming up. I call it the era of health and sustainability. You know, Corona was a start. It's the old system is collapsing, and we have to come up with something new quite quickly, in my opinion, because this old system is not going to work. And that was something that was very clear. From the beginning on, we have built a system that only works with infinite exponential growth, which is simply not possible on a planet with finite resources. And today we're already consuming way more than we should consume, and way more than the planet can reproduce sustainably. So sustainability, I think, is the key for the future. It's a major thing for our own survival of our species. And I think that's what's that we were seeing coming up very soon and very fast in the next decade. So for me, this decade is really the decade where things will change, the old system will disappear, and new systems will come up. So I think there's no better time than now to get started and get invested. And look at companies like Tesla Motors, how they have skyrocketed recently. I was one of the early investors, one of the first Tesla owners when I lived in San Francisco, and now it just went through the roof. So see, these are trends that are coming, and you can't miss them, because it's really important for us as mankind to move forward and to let these old models behind. So I feel like, you know, when this crisis started, I also see the positive side, the opportunity that's coming with it, and I think that's especially relevant for impact investment and for health and sustainability on a global scale.
I think Muluku, probably you can take this one. I mean, we have all seen in the news the Amazon deforestation, fires, droughts, record high numbers here and there. Is that the why now, or would
I
you
think
share the same sentiments?
um, I do not necessarily think that that is the why now, but that's definitely a major catalyst, right? So we've seen every year in the United States now, there's guaranteed to be a fire in California, right? And we saw the bushfires in Australia last year. So like this is a trend. So like these are trends that we have been witnessing over the like past decade, right? But now it's really on the forefront, and now it's really on everybody's face, right? Like you have Bloomberg covering it, you have you have CNN covering it, you have all the big global newsletters covering it. But I think the most important thing, the main catalyst was actually the coronavirus, because as Flo rightly mentioned, coronavirus really showed how vulnerable our system is and how many vulnerable people there are as well, right? So I think it's very, very important to make sustainable investments. And Flo rightly mentioned the Tesla story as well. So when Tesla first came out, nobody wanted to fund Tesla, right? Now Tesla is worth almost $500 billion, right? And you see the same trends in renewable energy. You see the same trends in sustainable housing, right? So I think we're going to start moving towards a more greener form of investing, and we're definitely going to see more new trends, more new industry come in from the need to be sustainable.
Who is making this impact investments?
So
Flo. Oh, sorry, Muluku,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just thinking about that
Sorry.
question before you said it, but yeah, previously it was a bit more challenging for companies doing something in this area to get funding. It was really
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
because investors, or especially large investors, were not so necessarily so interested in the impact, but in their financial returns. But now that we have crypto and crowdfunding, uh, this approach seems much more viable for funding causes, because a lot of people like to give smaller amounts to causes they really support. At least that's my experience from our first rounds of crowdfunding. We haven't started with big investors. We focus on friends, family, and people who have the same values. And especially in this area of health and sustainability, there's actually a demographic target group that we are targeting to. It's called the LOHAS, Lifestyles of Health and Sustainability. It's a demographic, and they make up 10 to 15% right now in most Western countries. But it's a growing segment. And you can recognize the segment very easily on their behavior. They're buying electric cars, or they're using sustainable products into spirit, mind, soul, these connections. So it's a target group that is growing and is quite easily identifiable for companies. And with crowdfunding or crypto, it's easy to raise funds from a crowd rather than trying to find big investors. You can do both. I think there's, with Mo and his organization is a good example. He works with a lot of investors that are focused on impact investment, but there's also this approach of working directly with the people and getting crowdfunding through them. And that can help tremendously with financing your projects.
Mo, the same question to you.
yeah, and I really agree, and I want to put up on what Florence said. So I think right now, as people, especially millennials, people that are growing up, people that are now in the workforce, we are way more sustainably minded than our parents, right? So like, there's a huge focus right now on sustainability, right? So I really like a major way to like get funded as well is through crowdsourcing, just as Flo mentioned, right? But what we've seen in the emergence over the past year is ESG investments as well, right? So BlackRock just opened its own ESG fund. JP Morgan is going to start tracking how much carbon each of its investments release as well. So we see these big multinational financial companies starting to really take impact investment seriously, especially sustainability seriously, because most of the LPs, right? So one of the biggest LPs in BlackRock, for example, is a Harvard endowment fund, right? And Harvard and like all these big US Ivy League colleges are receiving a lot of pressure from their students in order to change their investment criteria and switch to more sustainable investing practices, right? So we're seeing like a lot of pressure from people and also from the people investing in these impact funds as well.
Right. To kind of continue on that point as well, what's the current state of this market, that whole impact investment market itself? Would you guys know?
What do you mean with state? Like growing or
Yeah,
size?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
In terms of growth, in terms
It's
of where we
growing.
are.
It's
Yeah.
growing. I don't have the numbers out of my head there. They're somewhere in our white paper, but it's growing tremendously with a growth rate far, like I think it's 10, 15% a year. So far above the normal growth rate. Well, now we don't even have growth, but this segment is still growing. Like with Corona, we've seen that most of the businesses are going down, but we see on the other side new areas that are into sustainability growing. Like my company is saying, we had our best year this year so far, and we see this shift from the old model into the new model. So the trend is very clear to me. It's also now, as we mentioned in the beginning, it's obvious, it's in the people's faces. We have a problem. You know, climate change is not a hoax. It's happening. It's already there. The Amazon on fire, which was, you know, tremendously, it was a big stress for me too, because I'm spiritually connected with it. That's where I got my idea for Neco from. I spent many, many months in the Amazon rainforest. And when I saw it burning, it was heartbreaking to me. And I think
Right.
that's what's happening now. People really feel this as something we need to do. We have the Friday for Future movement, you know, young school children stopping to go to school, disobeying the system to stand up and rise, you know. So it's something that uh, is in the face of people now. And I think so the future will even show that now the speed of growth will even increase over the next years.
Mo, do you agree with some of the examples? Have you seen more examples like that?
Yes, so I do agree. So in terms of size, I think in 2019 the global impact sector was worth around 502 billion US dollars, and then is expected to reach around a trillion US dollars within the next 5 years at a compounded average annual growth rate of, I think, anywhere between 10 to 15 percent. So I think that the market is still very nascent and is going to continue to grow as we see more attention, and also like as we see better businesses, right? Because the volatility of the market only depends on how good the like businesses are and how good the like solutions are as well, right? So as we see more trends come in, as we see more innovation come in as well, I really expect the market to keep on growing for the next few years.
Just again going back to mainstream media itself. I mean, we have seen presidents deny it. Little girls like Greta, if I'm saying her name correctly, address UN summits and such. I mean, what's going on, and where are the people leaning on towards? Who are they believing? You know, Florian, perhaps you can give us an current state at the moment.
It's such a good example, you know, that a
Yeah.
60-year-old schoolgirl has more knowledge about climate change than a 70-year-old US president. That shows a
Yeah.
lot about where we're going. So, you know, what I have felt over the last years is politics has failed to address these issues. For 50 years, we've known about the problem with climate change and other problems like plastic. Nothing has happened. So I think it's time to recognize that politics is not going to solve this problem. It's going to be solved together. We have to work together. And it's also, that's what drove me to start NECO, is the understanding of that with a new financial system, we can fix these problems. You know, because we have enough resources and technologies to work, to live sustainable. As same as we have enough food on this planet to feed everyone. You know, nobody would need to have to die from starvation or poverty. We could use these technologies. It's always money that's missing. Yeah? And that is, the insanity is that money is fiction. Money is something, you know, numbers in computer systems. The actual resources, which are limited by nature, are there. But the fictional resource that is unlimited because it's just numbers in computer system is not available. And that's because of our system is built upon this value of scarcity. So we try to keep things scarce. And that is the problem. And that's, you know, what we're going to address with NECO. So I think with a new system, we can address this problem. The old system is not going to work, you know. So to Greta and so on, I like what they're doing, but protesting is probably not going to work because the politicians are not going to make the difference. We have to make a difference, and everyone can start with their own. Start with yourself, and then invite others rather than protesting. So start with your own. For example, change your diet. The most important thing, the biggest impact we can make is by changing our diet and eating more plants and less animals. And then, look at your own consumption patterns. Where can you reduce the consumption? I think that's where we have to start. And then be a role model for others, rather than someone blaming others. It's your responsibility, it's your responsibility. I think everyone should look at themselves first and start from there.
Right. Mo, over to you. I mean, when we look at politics, when we look at governments, of course, lots of things will trickle down from that. I mean, the people can lead the charge, but you do need that framework. You do need government participation as well. Where do you see things at the moment, and what are you forecasting for the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months?
So I think, right? So I would like to agree with what Florian said earlier. I think it first of all starts from individuals, right? But I think most importantly, right, governments have never ever solved anything, right? What governments can do and what the role of the government should be is implementing the framework and implementing the environment and the necessary tools, resources in order to solve this issue right now. And I believe the true way to solve issues like climate change, hunger, lack of energy, lack of resources, etc., is through innovation and is through investments, right? Because it's only through innovation and it's only through investments and with the addition of technology, because we have all the technology presence, right? Like we have supercomputers, we have AIs that are being developed, we have the best machine learning scientists in the world, right? So I believe like with these three criteria, innovation, technology, and investments, that's the way forward, right? Because I don't believe we should put our put our lives in the hands of politicians, because that has never ever
worked,
right?
That's never worked.
Like that's never worked. So it's up to us, and it's up to us, the investors and the people in the ecosystem, to make sure that the right companies are funded and that the right ideas are being put in front of investors, right?
Right. I think you're right there.
I agree with you more.
Yeah. and I think the next step is definitely to go and deep dive into some of the companies that are coming up and are showing lots of potential. So I think that virtual background next to you, Florian, behind you there, it's really nice. Tell us a little bit more about this company.
Yeah, thank you. So what you see in the background is our currency, the Neco, rising above the horizon. And unfortunately, it's cut off, but there's a house with solar panels and some windmills. So that was what I was previously invested in, renewable energy, because that's what I thought is one of the most important things. But then when I was in the Amazon, I had this, I finally got this more or less understanding that what really needs to be changed is our financial system. That is the cause of all our issues, because we could solve all these problems, as Mo said, with money. We already have the technology. It takes more innovation, but the key is to get the money to fund these projects. And that's what we're going to do with Neco. So is it a good time for me to do the presentation?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll share my screen.
The screen is yours. Yeah.
Perfect. Share. All right, I hope you can see it. And I'm going to close this one. Okay. So the project I'm going to talk about today is Neco. It's a currency, a stable currency for the common good. And it's more than just a currency, it's an entirely new financial system. And I like to mention this quote here from Buckminster Fuller, who said, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the old model obsolete." And that's the goal, the core goal behind Neco. We're trying to build a new financial system. So this system is kind of divided into three different components. First, the Neco, it's a stable currency. So it's not like Bitcoin or many other cryptocurrency. It's not volatile. It's not going up and down day to day. It's positive money, so it comes without debt, and it's designed to slowly increase over time. So it's not like fiat currencies, which are always losing value over time through inflation. And then last but not least, it's free of charge. We want to have a system where everyone globally can participate, especially people who are unbanked, and all you need is a mobile phone in the end, an app. So coming back to what Mo said in the beginning, it's really critical to get these millions of people, actually I think it's billions of people who are unbanked right now to banked to give them money to help them. And so the next component is the Necosystem. That's our sustainable financial system. It's a system with a positive triple bottom line. That's how we measure impact. A triple bottom line meaning it has a positive impact on the people, positive impact on the planet, and generates profit. And I'm going to talk about this later in the next slide. And last but not least, the Necosystem. That's a decentralized collective organization that is managing this system. It uses collective intelligence, a system called Collexa, to integrate all stakeholders. So all our users, including banks and governments, everyone who's using our currency has a vote in our system and can make decisions collectively. So it's replacing existing representative democracy where a few people have power with a system where everyone has the same power, everyone has equal rights and can contribute, make decisions on topics like the amount of money, the money supply we provide, but also how the money is balanced or distributed across profit, people, and planet. So we all do this collectively in our organization. And it's built upon 7 core values that are important for us, values which cover social, environmental, and financial aspects. The currency, the NECO, it's stable because it's backed up by a reserve in fiat currency. And we removed one of the main causes for volatility in currencies, which is the market. So instead of having the market change the value of the currency day by day based on demand and supply, we do it collectively in a quarter regulation. So all our users are invited every quarter to distribute our earnings across these 3 buckets: profit, people, and planet. The value only increases if our reserve increases. It remains stable if the reserve doesn't increase. So far, since we started in 2019 with our first regulation, our currency has never lost value. It's only gone up from initially 35 cents to now 41 cents, euro cents. It's positive money. So we generate these quarterly earnings, but it's also a currency without inflation and with no debt. It's a completely debt-free system. And if you compare it to our current system is bankrupt. We have 3 times more debt in the world than money. There's no way we can pay back the debt. So the system is going to collapse anyway because it's already bankrupt. And in our system, there is no debt at all. And yeah, last but not least, it's free. There's no interest, there are no banking fees, there are no transaction fees. So literally, it's a free currency that everyone can use globally. The system, so the key for our system is to have a positive triple bottom line. So on the social side, we want to help people through our universal basic income program. It's unconditional, so everyone can apply and receive it. We have people, we just started it 2 months ago. We have people in Africa who receive it, people in Europe, people in Asia, people in South America, people in North America. It's universal basic income, a very effective way to deal with poverty and to increase other social factors that improve life in general. It decreases poverty, it decreases crime, and has a lot of positive impacts. The planet we support first of all, through a carbon offset program. So we want to have all our users carbon neutral. We do this by reforestation, by planting trees, especially in the Amazon. We're putting the trees back and getting the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere that every one of us emits. We are introducing a free tax system, which is a voluntary donation-based system where people can offset the carbon footprint, but also other resource consumption like water and plastic in the future. And it's a new system that allows us to tax resource consumption instead of taxing income and other things that are actually positive and shouldn't be taxed. And profit, we have these quarterly earnings where we issue profit to our investors and users. And it's a stable currency. So usually it's going up or remaining stable, but so far we have never lost value. The organization, the Necosystem, it's a decentralized collective organization and has two legs, as I call it. A for-profit part, Neco Finance, it's a cooperative organization, and a non-profit part, Neco for Future, which handles the universal basic income and the carbon offset program. The model behind the organization is called holacracy. It's a system where you don't have hierarchies, but it's all organized in circles and subcircles. So we have a distributed authority and division of powers in our organization. So there is no single person who holds all the power. Like I personally, I'm the founder, but I didn't want to be a CEO who holds all the power. The idea of blockchain is decentralization. And I see a lot of companies using decentralized technology, the blockchain, but they're still having a hierarchical organization, which means the power is concentrated on the top. And in our organization, power is distributed across multiple roles. We make decisions collectively through the system collector. So we invite our users, we invite our stakeholders to make collective decisions, which are usually better than decisions taken by single individuals. And it's built upon these 7 core values that are listed here, from equality to sustainability, diversity, sufficiency, very important, stability, solidarity, and transparency. So these are core values that are enshrined in our constitution and form the basis of our organization. Yeah, why do we do this? What is our main goal? As I said in the beginning, the main goal is happiness, making people happier. And we took an example from the Kingdom of Bhutan, also called the Happiness Kingdom, where the king introduced what's called the GNH, the Gross National Happiness Index, to measure happiness instead of growth. You know, growth is an outdated indicator. It makes no sense. Growth is the problem right now. And we need to find a model, an economic system that is not based on growth, because infinite growth on a planet with finite resources is simply impossible. Our measurement index is called the CHI, the Community Happiness Index. So we're measuring happiness, and we're using these 9 different domains that you see here on the left-hand side, ranging from living standard over education, health, ecological diversity, good governance, and time use. And we use Collector, our system of collective intelligence, to regularly measure the happiness of our community. And that's the core key performance indicator for me as the founder of the organization. You know, I'm not incentivized to increase profit. I'm not incentivized to increase the number of people. I'm incentivized to increase happiness of our community. That's KPI for me. And we have another token in our portfolio, which is called Karma. So Karma is not a currency. It's nothing you can convert into money. It's a token that cannot be bought, it cannot be sold, it cannot be transferred, and it cannot be converted. It can only be earned for positive actions. And these positive actions can be investing money, or investing your time, volunteering, or inviting others to our system. And you can earn karma over time. The higher your karma, the more karma tokens you have, the higher your allowances for universal basic income, as example, but also education and healthcare in the future. The vision behind this karma token is to move beyond money. So I'm currently on karma level 10, which is the highest karma level in our system. And so the idea is the more karma you have, the less you have to pay. And when you reach this level 10, pretty much you can use services for free. I can stay at friends' places for free. I can rent an electric car for free with all participating merchants. So the idea is, you know, to give people a transition path away from our existing money-based system to our karma-based world, where you earn karma for good actions and you keep that. You never have to spend it. You know, it's just you accumulate these tokens, and the more you have, the more your community will give back to you. And yeah, and I wanted to use this chance now on VC TV to announce one of our newest tokens, the venture capitalist karma token, which we've just released. So previously we did crowdfunding, so like we have around 100, 200 private investors who invest in our company. Now we are starting to also look for venture capitalists, and we're gonna issue a karma token just for venture capitalists. The minimum investment is 100,000. and you get a lifetime membership in our exclusive VC circle. I'll be part of it. I'm also investing 100,000 in this project. And it's a good chance to get invested now because we already have positive results of our fourth quarter. So it's going to be a positive next round in our regulation. So the value of the NECO is going to increase for the next quarter. So yeah, this is, I think, pretty much about NECO, the quick overview. Before I finish, I just want to give you a short glimpse onto our roadmap. So we are currently in a prototyping phase where we have built the system, we're testing the system with a prototype community of about 200 users. We're finishing this prototype this year, before we start the development of the app and the rollout. We have 3 ICOs scheduled, the NECO ICO for next year, but then the year after we have StackChain, which is our blockchain technology. I call it the blockchain 2.0. It has higher performance and higher security than a traditional blockchain. And most importantly, it is carbon neutral, because I found it to be quite disturbing to see how much energy is being consumed, for example, for Bitcoin, that is requiring more energy right now than I think the country of New Zealand just to run its operations. So we're burning actual fossil fuels to calculate virtual numbers, which doesn't make sense to me in times of climate change. So this is another ICO, another technology we're going to bring on the market. And last but not least, Collexa, our collective intelligence. It's a kind of counterpart to AI. We call it CI, collective intelligence, that harvests the intelligence of the group to make intelligent decisions and forecasts. Okay, these are a few links, and yeah, I'm through with my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I'm open to any questions that come up now.
I mean, that's brilliant, Florian. I think you're definitely healing the world. And we need more projects like this as well coming.
Thank
Mo,
you.
what do you think about the project itself? Do you have
of course.
questions?
I think it's very innovative project. I have a few questions to ask. So you said that the Neco chain was backed by a reserve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what currencies is it backed by? Number
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, you're currently using a prototype of 200 people, right? Is it only individuals, or do you have merchants included as well? Because I remember you mentioned for your Karma tokens, one of the benefits was that you could like get an like electric car for free or something like this, right? Number three, right? The $100,000 investment, is that for tokens or is that for equity, right? And number four, right? People haven't been doing ICOs since the ICO craze in 2017, 18, right? Why are you choosing an ICO over just a direct exchange listing, for example? Thank you.
Okay, cool. So I always have issues remembering more than 3 items. So can you repeat? What was the first question again? You wanted me to answer. That was about the reserve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What
The
currency
reserve.
are you using for reserve? Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So we have a reserve in fiat currencies. So we're currently using euro, dollars, and pounds, and we're creating reserves for every other currency that we want to use. We use it for the exchange. So when we have to convert NECO back into fiat currency, we take that money from the reserve. So whenever people buy NECO, they put fiat into our reserve, and when they sell NECO, they take fiat out of the reserve, and we take it depending on where the demand is. So it's backed up by a reserve in fiat currency. It's a fraction reserve. So we have currently around 15% of our money supply is backed up by fiat. And it's something that our community can regulate. So the reserve rate is something that's regulated on a quarterly basis through collective decision making. So they can decide to increase the reserve or lower the reserve over time. There's a minimum of 10%. So if our reserve falls below minimum of 10%, we regulate the value of the NECO down to make sure it's always above 10%. So second question was
the Karma tokens. So you mentioned you have you're currently running a prototype of like 200 people, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned that people receive access to like free products or something, and you already have merchants within that like prototype pool. And how do you plan on signing up more merchants, and what is the incentive
Mhm.
for like for a merchant to participate in the scheme?
So very good questions. Let me try to answer them one after the other. So we are currently working on a prototype with 200 users. They're mostly private people and a few companies. We're in process of talking to some merchants to get the test started. For them, it was usually they are waiting for the app to come because that will help them more than, you know, currently it's an online-based system that we're using, which is not the final app. So it's mostly contacts, people who are using it. But for example, I pay my rent everywhere. I'm a nomad, so I'm traveling. I'm usually in Malta, Germany, or Thailand. I pay my rent everywhere in Nico. It's as easy as asking people. It's easy to transfer money to everyone. We do it. You can enter the email, and the money is sent over, and they can start using it. Quite easy. The idea is to go viral, to have people recommend the system to others, invite people to Nico. The advantage that merchants have is it's free of transaction fees. So, you know, currently when you pay with a card, there's always a fee that's taken off, and it's usually the merchants who have to pay it, whether it's your debit card or your credit card. Our system is completely free of charge. Money will be sent automatically, global, instant payments, so no delays in it, no banking fees. And obviously, we are targeting, for merchants, we're targeting the same segment, the LOHAs or lifestyles of health and sustainability. So companies who have something to do with, you know, this kind of sector with sustainability and healthcare in the beginning. But as a system, Nico is designed to be a global currency. So it's not, you know, it's not limited to this kind of industry, but that's where we want to start with, because it's the low-hanging fruit and the best overlap with our values. So did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, there was one more question is why did you choose like why are you planning on doing ICOs instead of just direct exchange listing or an IEO or like this equity with some token?
So we have our company doesn't have shareholders. You know, it's the for-profit part is a cooperative. Everyone has an equal vote, so it's not depending on how much you invest. Everyone is equal. So that's why our tokens are not equity. They are a currency, like you're converting euros into dollars, you're converting euros into Nico. And it's the same like from an accounting and bookkeeping perspective. It's just registered as a currency. It's not equity. However, you have a vote through our Collector, our system of collective intelligence. You can vote on all the major decisions. Like on a quarterly basis, you can vote how to balance our earnings and distribute it across profit, people, planet. We have our constitution, which is collectively managed, so you can vote for new articles, a change of articles. We just regulated our universal basic income rates collectively through collective referendums. We use all these methods to make the major decisions collectively. So everyone who owns at least one Nico token has a right to participate. And that's in accordance with our value of equality. We want to have people equal regardless of how much money they own. So it shouldn't be money. More money gives you more power. Everyone is equal. That's basically the idea. ICO, why an ICO, why not an IEO? So, and I know we have been discussing with a few exchanges, and also, you know, I would like to do this with LATOKEN as soon as possible on listing our token there. The reason why we have been struggling a little bit is because we didn't want the demand and supply to regulate the value of the currency, because that's causing the volatility in all these other currencies. We want to be stable. We only change the value every 3 months, and through a collective decision, not through demand and supply, because that's creating all the volatility. You know, there's a bad news coming out, boom, Bitcoin goes down. It doesn't have anything to do with Bitcoin. It can be a virus. You know, virus is not going to infect Bitcoin, but these news have an impact on the value of a currency. In our system, we try to eliminate this. We want to have it stable for at least 3 months, and then we do an increase and an increase like this. And so that was something that wasn't the normal model of most exchanges. But it would be great to be listed on an exchange like LATOKEN if you can figure out how to deal with this different way of regulating the value.
Interesting, very interesting. Sounds good.
Yep. Yep. I think that's a good kind of introduction towards Nico, and it also makes a good example to some of the companies that are kind of looking in at the moment and seeing how the format is and what you do and how you can achieve this. So again, just do get in touch with us if you have brilliant ideas, if you have some ideas that you want to share out there to the world. Kind of riding on that and looking at the companies per se as well. I think recently we've all heard of Amazon's new climate pledge, not Amazon the jungle, but Amazon the company itself. What do you think of it? And do you think it's just a marketing gimmick? Mo, you want to take this one?
So I actually think that they're quite serious about their climate pledge, because Amazon has been receiving a lot of heat, not only in regards to their sustainability, but in regards to how they treat their workers, in regards to how they source their materials as well, and then at the same time you've got a lot of pressure that's coming from Congress as well, that's actively trying to break up Amazon and its monopoly that it has, right? So I think its climate pledge is pretty serious, and Amazon is not the only global Fortune 500 company that has pledged. So Nestle, for example, pledges by 2030 to have all its products sustainable. H&M as well. You've got global companies like Zara. So I expect more and more companies to pledge to sustainability, because that's what consumers are demanding. I think a recent study of consumers in the UK said that 8 out of 10 people are more likely to buy a product if it's more sustainably sourced.
Right. I think you're right on that as well. And lots of companies are kind of heading towards, and even countries are heading towards that whole carbon neutral pledge, or trying their best to kind of reach that as well. And I know there's some calculation out there to kind of look at it. I think this one is for Florian, since you're close. I mean, your heart is at least there at the Amazon itself. The leadership, I think, recently has stated that it's just blasphemy to call it the lungs of the earth at the moment, because the global society is not paying up. You're not paying us. Why should we keep the forest there? Can I clear the forest and make economic sense out of it? So can I raise my cattle and increase my beef productivity? Apparently that's from what I heard. So what's your comments on this and his approach to looking at the Amazon on a whole?
Yeah, so I think first of all, like technically our planet has 2 lungs. Number one, the trees, they make up 50% of the oxygen. The other one is plankton in the oceans. And we definitely have to conserve them. And the Amazon is one of the richest habitats on Earth with the highest level of diversity. So, I mean, this really has, for me, much more value than, raising cattle and beef there. But I understand, and that's the dilemma of our system. We have a system that incentivizes destruction. So chopping down a tree creates value in our system. Planting a tree costs value. We got to reverse that. We got to change it so that taking a resource like a tree costs something. The companies have to pay for it. They can't just dig oil and take it out. It's not theirs. They have to pay for these. That's a resource-based taxation. And then, so like, the way we do it, we create money. Like we're like Nico's like a central bank creating money and giving it to reforestation programs. So we pay people to put trees there. So it creates a business model, an incentive to do positive and to grow trees. So we are trying to reverse the system, because at the moment our system, to be honest, it's upside down. It's just on all aspects where you look at it, it's upside down. We're doing exactly the wrong things, especially on the environment. And that's why, in my opinion, we got to change the system. And as long as we don't change the system, we are fighting an uphill battle. Economy versus ecology. They should go hand in hand, not against each other. And that's why we need a new system.
Mo, do you share the same sentiments? And I think some of the questions would be, who's going to police this money when it comes to the larger governments or companies out there to look at the environment bit?
I don't really think we can police anything. I think the system should be self-regulating and should be self-policing, right? I think we should put in place a system that has checks and balances, right? A system that has independent oversight, right? And a system that most importantly encourages innovation, and that mostly encourages investment, and that encourages money being put into these areas as Florian rightly mentioned.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one as well. And again, just a quick note to everyone watching in from wherever you are. This is VCTV by LATOKEN, and this is a space where we talk about a certain topic or cover a certain angle of what's going on. Of course, the focus is on crypto, digital assets, but we do look at the bigger picture as well. So, gentlemen of the panel, as you know, there's lots of businesses actually coming and also tuning in, looking at you for advice. I think it's fair to kind of speak directly to them as well and kind of tell them what you're looking forward to and what type of advice would you kind of give them if they are looking into social environmental impacts itself. Mo, we can start with you on this one.
Cheers, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I believe, right, the most important, especially for businesses in the social impact scene, is number one, does your solution make sense? Right? Are you actually improving the lives of people at the bottom of the pyramid, right? If you're not drastically improving their life, are you making solutions easier for them? Are you making processes easier for them, right? Number two, right? I think the most important thing is not going after a small problem, but going after a large problem with a large market size, right? Like access to electricity, for example. There's 600 million people on the African continent that do not have proper access to electricity, right? So that's a large market with a large problem that entrepreneurs should aim to solve, right? And there are different layers of solving that problem as well, right? And yes, I believe these are the most important things. And if there are any companies who are in impact in their growth states, pre-Series A, Series A round onwards, please do not hesitate to contact me. Would love to see how I can help, or would just love to hop on the phone and learn more about yourself and your business as well.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and,
Florian, over to you.
yes, yeah, and I, I'm an investor too. I've been investing for the last 10 years, but I would recommend, like, if you are not into the investment space, contact someone like Mo's company who know what they're doing, who are dealing with these all the time. You don't have to understand everything, but you have to find the right person who can help you make the right decisions on impact investment. Then, in general, from my experience, try to focus on certain areas where you think, I was in like solar energy, because this is something that's important, or water supply. As Mo mentioned, the big problems in the world that we need to solve quickly, climate change. Maybe focus on one of these areas and then look at what companies say out there. Important when you look at companies, everyone today can make a nice website and so on. It's more important that you look at the company and who is in the company, what are the people behind it, and the values of the company. Because there's a difference between an Amazon and a Tesla. Amazon only changed because of public pressure, because millions of people were blaming, and politicians were blaming Amazon. So finally, Jeff Bezos moved. It's not in his values. He's not an environmentalist at all. You know, he cares about money mostly, and that hasn't changed. So it's public pressure that moves these companies, but then don't have the values. If you look at Tesla, they have clear values from the beginning on. A guy like Elon Musk who's standing up, who's not just a great innovator, but shares the values of changing this world rather than just making profit. And that's what I would focus on the values of a company and its leaders, not so much on their website and, you know, the nice products they put on there. That's in today, it's so easy to make a website. It's about the values, because that's something that is a core part of the people and the organizations that you have to.
Exactly. I would like to just add on Florian's point. I believe when founders are focused on their product, and when they're focused on creating value, and when they're focused on creating social impact, that's when you see great returns, and that's when you see the market positively reacting to your stock. So like, let's look at the Tesla stock, for example. In this year alone, Tesla stock went up 594%, right? And if you actually go back, maybe even last year, people were still calling Elon Musk a fraud, right? So yeah, and he made $100 billion US dollars this year from trying to save the environment, right? So I would like to tell entrepreneurs out there that there is profit in good, and that there is lots of opportunities to still make money, but to still help the environment and to still help people overall.
Great. I think that's a good way to sum it up as well. We have a minute left, I think, on the show. Before we go, Flo, again, congratulations on Nico. I think it's a great venture as well. Is there any last plugs or words of advice that you want to give to our viewers out there?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would like to thank LATOKEN for the invite and the possibility for me to speak today about this project. I also, Terence, you for managing the session today. Mo, thank you for bringing all these numbers. You seem to know all these numbers, market size. So good. These are the things I didn't have in my mind. I didn't know out of my mind. Thank you, Chad. Yeah, and to our viewers, I can just encourage you, guys, this is a time of massive change that's happening. Well, this is a new era that's coming. The old era is ending, the new era is coming, and the new era will be about health and sustainability, about impact. And so get invested there. There's a lot of money out there, but don't focus just on the money. Money is fiction, it doesn't make you happy. It's about how you use it, how you live. And that's why I highly recommend, go into your values, look at what you want to do, where you want to put your money in, something you want to support, not because it just generates profit, but because you are behind the idea. And it generates positive impact on the people or on the planet.
Great. Mo, yourself, and the final words.
I think Florian summed it up absolutely perfectly, right? And yeah, and my like final words to entrepreneurs is just keep on working on your product, keep on working on your idea, and there's definitely a lot of money out there that will fund good ideas, and that's looking for good places to go, especially with zero interest rates. Right, there's a lot of money looking for somewhere good to go. So yeah, so just keep working on your product, and I look forward to receiving any interesting decks.
Right. What do you think of VCTV?
It's been an amazing experience so far. Thank you so much for having me, and I really look forward to attending more panels.
Great. All right,
that's a great Terence. I really like this platform. I really like this, like VCTV. This is, I think, my 5th session I've been joining, and I feel like every time I'm joining, it's getting better. So definitely today was a great session. I'm really happy. And for the audience, the audience you've chosen, it's always good to have like I said, small groups that are focused on certain areas. That's where the big change really happens.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a great way to sum things up as well. Gentlemen of the panel, again, thank you for your insights and your inputs today. It's been great talking to you. And again, for the viewers out there, thank you for tuning in. This is VCTV by LATOKEN. Come back on the next show. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.